Hey everybody! So I did not think that I was going to be doing a video so early in the year. I plan to use this week to prepare myself for the rest of the year, and unfortunately we couldn't even make it in a day of 2018 or a couple of days without something blowing up on YouTube. This is Logan Paul and the video that he recently did about suicide. He happened to be in Japan and he was visiting a forest where people have been known to die by suicide, and in the video showed an actual dead body, somebody that had passed away. And so obviously this caused an outrage on YouTube, but I want to unpack a little bit of this here because sometimes we get caught up in the outrage and the swirling of things and we don't settle in, let our emotions calm down and dissect what's really going on. So let's do that here. So first, let me just say I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not licensed in any way. So I hesitate to even talk about suicide on this channel for that reason. I myself have not been affected by it. And so I just generally try to not talk too much about topics that I'm not so familiar with. So that's just for you to know. What I'd like to first do is talk to anybody out there who may be a fan of Logan Paul. I'm not super familiar with what Logan Paul does. I know that he comes from Vine and he does a comedy channel. I know him and his brother have been rivals, and that's about the extent of it. I don't know very much about him, so that's where I'm coming from. But I want to talk to you in regards to this particular issue and some things I've seen from the Paul brothers, both, that are problematic when it comes to mental health, because my channel is all about mental health. So I get that by all appearances that he didn't intend to cause this disruption that he's caused. He didn't intend to violate any kind of social rules. He didn't intend to do any kind of damage, but I also question if that's true, because a lot of what has happened with the Paul brothers in particular is they've built a brand around doing things that are exciting and crazy and shocking, and that's okay. I get why people do that. That's a marketing tactic and it works very well. It gets attention. It may be the reason why you first discovered them, but you should be aware that that is a form of manipulation, and that's a maladaptive personality trait to manipulate other people, to play with their emotions. Again, everybody does this. I do this on my channel. It's just the way that we market to people. What's problematic with Logan and what I see with him and his brother is that they are constantly manipulating emotions, and there's not really a good discussion about emotions just by themselves. I don't see those real moments when I see the highlights of the Paul brothers. And this may be because I'm not a fan. I don't know. But what I do know is that their brand is all about this shock and awe. And I don't want to see you as a fan getting pulled into a world where emotions are just something to make fun of and to be crazy and silly about. Because I get that when we're teenagers and when we go throughout life, we have periods where we just want to say, F it, screw the rules, and do whatever. And we may become impulsive, another bad personality trait. We may become callous to other people. We may become hostile even. And I've seen these things in some of the videos that I've seen from the Paul brothers. And I just want to caution you to be aware. Just be aware of what it is that you're watching and how you're interacting with it. And I see some grandiosity when there's like dabbing on the haters and maybe using other people to make things funny. We see this on YouTube a lot. It's not just the Paul brothers making fun of things to put ourselves above them, to be savage, when that's not a good personality trait to have. That's not something that is going to help you adapt to life. If you treat people that way, you'll push them away, and you may blame them for being soft or being emotional, but in the end, you lose that friendship. So I just want you to think about these behaviors that you're watching, and if they're the best behaviors for you to choose in your life. Now, because you're fans of Logan Paul, I expect that when I say things like this to you, you're probably gonna not like me for saying them, and you're gonna possibly take it personally. I don't want you to take it personally, but you're gonna want to come to his defense, as anybody would do. If somebody that I really looked up to did things like this and somebody was telling me that I shouldn't like them or I shouldn't like something that they're doing, I would get defensive. So I understand that, and I want you to know that I understand that. What's important to understand is that these people that we look up to, they're not gods. They're not perfect. They make mistakes. This may be another mistake that Logan Paul has made. I don't know. I make mistakes. What's important to realize is that even if people make mistakes, and even if we want to stand by them, and we can stand by them, they still have to be held accountable for those mistakes. For example, just imagine, be hypothetical with me for a second. I know this is a little out there. Imagine Logan Paul saw you on the street, you were excited, you came up to him, and he smacked you in the face, or he smacked your girlfriend or your boyfriend in the face. I'm thinking you probably wouldn't be okay with that. Hopefully you wouldn't be okay with that. That's never okay to do to somebody who you love. It's never okay to do to somebody, period. But maybe he would come up with an explanation for it. Maybe you would understand that explanation and you'd be willing to forgive, and that's okay. But there needs to be a period in there somewhere where it's made known, like, this was not okay. Now, when it comes to the thing that just happened, he's made an apology video. I have not watched the apology video. I haven't watched the original video. To be honest, I'm not interested because it seems so disrespectful to me, and I don't want to add to the view count. I don't want to add to any possible advertising revenue that could be made. I know that he did not make it possible for ads to be shown on these videos, but I just don't want to contribute to any of that. Something that I'd like you to consider is that this was all planned out as part of a manipulation. You know, it's no coincidence that this was the beginning of a new year. You'd probably want to do something shocking while people are still on vacation and watching YouTube. I'm thinking the location was probably chosen on purpose, and it's very possible to think of, okay, we're going to do this, there's going to be a backlash, and then we're going to issue an apology video, and that's going to get more media coverage and more attention. Because again, his brand is kind of built around gathering attention. That's why he works so well on YouTube. YouTube does a really good job of promoting people who are good at getting attention. So while I'm not saying that his apology isn't insincere, the whole circumstances are very questionable, and I question what judgment he made to do this in the first place. You know, on the one hand, you could kind of say it was an impulsive decision, but this was probably planned out very carefully in advance. And although you can make a number of impulsive decisions along the way, and a decision being impulsive is not an excuse for doing it. You know, we have to have healthy boundaries here. And this is one of those instances where this is a boundary that was crossed way beyond what anybody should be allowing. There's probably going to be some people who hear this and say, well, he didn't kill anybody, he didn't hurt anybody. But you can't use what he didn't do to take away from what he did do. I think ultimately what I want you to do is feel that feeling that you may be feeling inside if you're a fan, and understand that it's a complicated feeling. You don't have to come up with reasons why you're feeling it. Feel that feeling, but also when you're more calm and you can think about things, think about if the behavior that he's doing, that he's done, is something that you would want to see in your life. Like, really think about it. Think about how it would be to be on the receiving end of these things, especially in this last video that he shot. How would it feel to be the family of the person who we filmed? How would it feel to be the community in Japan, to feel like this American came over and filmed this? It's very exploitative. Let's be honest. This is where, once we settle down that feeling, that complicated feeling that we're feeling inside, we can start to let go of ourselves and the defenses that we're putting up and look at other people and start to have empathy for them and see why maybe what was done was wrong and it wasn't okay. And it's something that should be apologized for. And I think in his case, it should be more than an apology because he's a public figure who millions of people look up to. So I think there's a higher standard for somebody like that. Now, I don't know who watches Logan Paul. Like, I don't know what his main demographic is, but I have a suspicion that it's probably younger people, teenagers, 20-something. I'm sure there's people older and younger who watch him. but I just get that feeling from watching the content that that's probably who he's talking to. So hello, if you're one of those people. I don't want this whole video to be about him, because what's important to focus on is not him and the drama and all the media stuff. It's to focus on what we're really upset about in the first place, which is suicide, because it's an important topic, it's a serious topic, and that's why people are upset, because it wasn't taken seriously. So I mentioned the demographic of the people he's talking to, his audience, you guys maybe, because I have in front of me some facts from Mental Health America on suicide, and an important fact about suicide that I think everybody should know is that it's the second leading cause of death among people ages 15 to 24. And since I believe he's speaking to people who are in that age range, he should know that, if he doesn't know that already. And you should know that it's really serious. It's the second leading cause of death. It's also the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And the World Health Organization last year dedicated the theme of Mental Health Month to depression, because depression is the #1 illness worldwide, and depression is linked to suicide. I think you should know that 44,000 people die by suicide every year in the United States. I think it's also important to know that white males in particular, especially older white males, are more likely to die by suicide. So Logan Paul being a white male himself, I'm also a white male, that would be something to be acknowledging of. He's a visual representation of people who die by suicide. And this isn't to exclude anybody else. Men are 4 more times likely to die by suicide. Females, women, are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. And this is just the statistics that they have available. I don't want to leave out people who are queer or non-binary or anything else. A statistic that I like to bring up a lot here on this channel is that people who are LGBT are 3 times more likely to have a mental illness. Now I just want to read over some things that we can look for to see if somebody may be feeling suicidal. They may give threats like, you'd be better off without me, or maybe I'm not going to be around anymore. They may express feeling hopeless or helpless. They may have attempted suicide in the past. They may engage in daring or risk-taking behavior. They may have sudden personality changes. They may go through a period of depression. They may sleep a lot, or they may be sleeping too little. They may give things away, give away their possessions because they feel like they're not going to be needed anymore. Or they may just show a total lack of interest in the future and making plans with people. These are all things that you can look for to know if somebody may be having a hard time. And what you can do is to let them know that you're there for them. If they're having a really hard time, don't let them be alone. Give them a phone call. Text them, let them know that you're a resource for them. If you can't be a resource, let them know the resources that they have. In the United States, we have the crisis text line. They can text anything to 741-741. Somebody will reach out to them through text. We also have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. And there are resources worldwide, and I have a lot of those down in my description below. If you ever have a hard time remembering, you can also search Wikipedia for list of suicide hotlines, something like that. So this in no way excuses what Logan Paul has done here, but I do want to say that I understand liking somebody and maybe not liking everything that they do. You know, a perfect example for me is PewDiePie. I like PewDiePie. I don't love everything that he does. There are definitely phrases that he uses, things that he says that I think, you know, this is a problem and I wish he knew that it were a problem. But I still watch his stuff sometimes because there's other things that I appreciate about him. So if you're a Logan Paul fan, I get it. I don't expect you to stop being a fan. I don't expect you to unsubscribe and stop watching his videos. But what I do hope is that him, and you especially, understand why this wasn't okay and why it hurts people and the seriousness of suicide and depression and mental illness and mental health problems, because in a way we are all affected by these problems. We all know somebody, 1 in 4 people has a mental health problem, and you don't have to have an official diagnosis to have a mental health problem. So even more than that, we all have mental health problems is what I'm getting at. So my hope is that instead of focusing on Logan Paul and the drama and the craziness, is that we just take a few moments to seriously consider what it means when somebody comes to the point in their life when they feel like they have to end their life, that we get educated on the resources that are available to us, that we reach out to people when they seem like they're in crisis, and if we're in crisis and we're able to, we also reach out to people. I do need to take some more time to get things ready for my plans for 2018. I hope that you are planning a good future for 2018 for yourself. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for considering my words. If you have anything you'd like to add, please leave that down below. Please know that I moderate my comments, and if I feel like something's inappropriate, if I feel like it's hurtful, I will remove it. But thank you for taking the time to consider this with me.